The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep, resonant hum. The human delegation stood frozen at the threshold, staring into the vast circular room that would determine the fate of Earth. Ambassador Laura Morgan took a deep breath as she gazed upward at the towering semicircular tiers that stretched almost beyond sight. Each tier held hundreds of alien representatives from across the known universe, beings of every imaginable form and color. The air shimmered with translation fields and holographic displays that floated above each delegation. A low murmur of thousands of voices in hundreds of languages filled the chamber. "This is it," Laura whispered to her team. "We are the first humans to stand before the full council." Her heart pounded against her ribs as she straightened her formal diplomatic uniform. The small team of 5 humans looked impossibly tiny against the grand scale of the chamber. The floor beneath them began to move, sliding forward into the center of the vast space. Laura fought to maintain her composure as their platform came to rest at the focus of all those alien eyes. A massive holographic display activated above them, projecting their images 100 times larger for all to see. The Grand Arbiter of the Council rose from the highest tier. A tall, spindly being with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its voice boomed throughout the chamber, enhanced by unseen technology. "The Council recognizes the representatives of Sol 3 designation Earth." The Grand Arbiter announced, "This unscheduled emergency session has been called to address the unprecedented situation of a previously uncontacted species, bypassing standard first contact protocols, and directly accessing Council communication networks. We will now hear their explanation." Laura stepped forward, feeling the weight of humanity on her shoulders. Just 3 days earlier, Earth had been an isolated planet, unaware of the vast galactic community that surrounded it. Then everything changed when Earth scientists activated the experimental quantum communications array and accidentally tapped into the secure Council network, sending signals across thousands of worlds. The Council chamber fell silent as Laura prepared to speak. She knew they had only this one chance to prevent Earth from being quarantined or worse. Beyond the massive viewports of the Council chamber, the central star of this system pulsed with blue-white light illuminating the faces of 1,000 alien species, all waiting to pass judgment on humanity. Laura stepped forward, her voice steady, despite her fear. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, "I bring greetings from Earth. We come before you not as trespassers, but as seekers of knowledge. Our breakthrough into your communications network was not an act of aggression, but the unexpected result of our independent scientific advancement." A low rumble of voices filled the chamber. Some delegates appeared skeptical, others curious. A large reptilian being from the second tier rose, its scales gleaming under the chamber lights. "The Drazak Empire finds this explanation insufficient," the creature hissed. "How convenient that a primitive species suddenly develops quantum entanglement communication that bypasses our security protocols. We suspect outside interference, perhaps even deliberate sabotage of our networks." Laura felt a chill run down her spine. The accusation was serious. She could see other delegates nodding, in agreement. If the Council believed humans had help from some faction within galactic society, the consequences would be severe. Ambassador Jeff Torres, one of her team members, stepped forward to address the technical aspects. He had been the lead scientist on the quantum array project. His voice remained calm as he explained, "Our quantum communication system works on principles we developed independently. We had no knowledge of your network or its protocols. The intersection was completely accidental. We can demonstrate the developmental path of our technology to prove this." The Grand Arbiter raised 2 of its forearms, silencing the chamber. "Let us examine the evidence. The investigation team will access your memories of this technology. Development Earth representatives, prepare yourselves." Laura exchanged nervous glances with her team. Memory scanning was something they had been warned about by the first Council contact team that arrived on Earth after the breach. It was standard procedure, but deeply invasive. A small hovering device floated down from the upper tiers, stopping before Jeffy consent. He said, closing his eyes as the device emitted a soft blue glow that enveloped his head. The next few minutes stretched into an Eternity as the council chamber watched Jeff's memories projected onto the massive screens. His years of work, the failures, the breakthroughs, and finally, the unexpected moment when the array picked up signals from across the stars. Every detail was exposed for all to see. When the scan finished, the Grand Arbiter consulted with several other high-ranking council members. Their conversation was shielded from translation fields, leaving the human delegation in tense silence. Finally, the Grand Arbiter addressed the chamber. The evidence suggests truth in the human claim. Their technology development appears independent, and the breach accidental relief washed over Laura, but it was short-lived. However, the Arbiter continued this does not resolve the primary concern. The humans now possess knowledge of our existence and our networks. This knowledge cannot be undone. The question before the Council is what to do with Earth. Now that this breach has occurred, a delegate from the fourth, Tira being composed of what appeared to be living crystal, spoke next, its voice ringing like chimes. The traditional protocol is clear. Quarantine the species for no less than 50 cycles until they reach appropriate developmental milestones. 50 cycles Laura knew would be nearly 70 Earth years. Her heart sank. A blue-skinned humanoid with 4 eyes stood from one of the middle tiers. I disagree. The Merithian Alliance believes there is another option. The humans demonstrated remarkable ingenuity in developing quantum communication independently. Their minds may offer fresh perspectives to our society. I propose probationary status with limited council interaction. The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates supported quarantine. Others called for even harsher measures. Laura listened as the fate of Earth was debated among beings who had known of humanity's existence for mere days. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her. If she failed here, humanity would be isolated from galactic society for generations. She stepped forward again, raising her hand for attention. It took several moments for the chamber to quiet. Esteemed council members, she began. I understand your concerns about our unexpected arrival here, but consider this: in less than 2 centuries, humanity has progressed from basic flight to quantum physics. We are adaptable, quick to learn, and eager to contribute. If given the chance, we could become valuable members of this galactic community. She gestured to her team. Each of us represents different aspects of human achievement: science, diplomacy, art, defense, and commerce. We brought with us proposals for trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense. All we ask is the opportunity to prove ourselves, and Chamber remained silent as her words were translated across all the species. Laura held her breath, knowing that this moment would define humanity's place among the stars. The Grand Arbiter finally spoke. The Council will now vote on the status of Earth. 3 options are before us: full quarantine, probationary status, or provisional membership. Delegates, cast your decisions. The massive holographic display above the chamber center shifted, showing a real-time count as thousands of votes poured in. Laura watched the numbers climb, her hands clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her palms. The vote seemed to last forever as delegates from the furthest reaches of the galaxy registered their choices. When the final tally appeared, the Grand Arbiter rose again. By the narrowest margin in Council history, Earth is granted probationary status. Limited cultural and scientific exchange will be permitted under strict supervision. A Council observation team will establish permanent residence on Earth to monitor compliance. It wasn't perfect, but it was far better than quarantine. Laura allowed herself a small smile of relief. However, the Grand Arbiter continued. This decision comes with conditions. Earth must demonstrate its value to galactic society within 1 standard cycle. Otherwise, the vote will be held again with quarantine as the only option. You have 1 cycle to prove humanity belongs among the stars. The platform beneath the human delegation began to move backward, signaling the end of their audience. Ambassador Laura Morgan looked up at the thousands of alien faces watching them departure, some curious, some hostile, many simply indifferent. 1 cycle, 1 year. Earth time to convince an entire galactic community that humans deserved a place among them. As they exited the massive council chambers, Jeff leaned close to Laura. We did it, he whispered. We got our foot in the door. Laura nodded, but her expression remained serious. "We have a chance," she corrected. "That's all just a chance. And the real work begins now." The doors of the Galactic Council chamber closed behind them with the same resonant hum. Earth now stood at the threshold of a new era. The question that remained was whether humanity would rise to the challenge or fall back into isolation among the stars. The Grand Council chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence as the holographic display revealed the human fleet had destroyed 3 Vexari warships in less than 20 minutes. The alien representatives shifted uneasily in their seats as footage showed the primitive Earth vessels executing complex maneuvers that should have been impossible for their level of technology. Ambassador Diane Foster stood calmly in the center of the massive chamber, her gray uniform contrasting with the colorful array of alien delegates surrounding her on all sides. She could feel thousands of eyes studying her, evaluating the threat humanity might pose. The High Speaker, a gaseous being contained within a hovering metallic sphere, floated forward the translation, field around it pulsing with each word. "How did your species defeat a Vexari battle group with such primitive ships? The Vexari have conquered 12 systems with that same fleet formation." Diane smiled slightly, her posture relaxed despite being the focus of the entire Galactic Council. "We studied the situation and adapted. Our ships may lack your advanced technology, but our tactical thinking is different from what the Vexari expected. We observed their attack patterns during their first assault on our colony and developed countermeasures." The Vexari representative, a hulking insectoid with gleaming chitinous armor, rose from its seat, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Impossible. The humans must have received outside assistance. This is a violation of probationary status. No species at their development level could defeat our warships." A murmur ran through the vast chamber. The human delegation had been granted probationary status 6 months ago after their accidental discovery of the quantum communication network that connected the galactic community. The terms were strict. Earth could establish a single colony beyond their solar system, but were forbidden from expanding further until they proved themselves worthy of full membership. The Vexari attack on this colony had been unexpected and unauthorized, but many council members secretly believed it would put the upstart humans in their place. Instead, the humans had not only survived, but triumphed, turning the situation into an emergency council session. Diane gestured and the holographic display changed, showing tactical data from the battle. The Vexari ships followed standard attack protocols documented in your own military archives, which our intelligence division accessed during our orientation to council systems. Their formations, while effective against conventional defenses, were predictable. We simply created an unconventional defense. Another delegate, this one, a crystalline entity whose body refracted light in dazzling patterns, spoke next. "The archives are accessible to probationary members for historical research, not military application. We were defending ourselves." Diane countered, her voice firm but respectful. "Would you have preferred we allowed our colony to be destroyed?" The Grand Arbiter, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council millennia ago, raised a long, spindly arm for silence. The chamber immediately quieted. "The question before us is not whether humans had the right to defend themselves, but how they managed to do so effectively. We must determine if outside interference occurred." A series of floating devices descended from the ceiling, hovering around Diane and the 4 other members of her delegation. Memory scanners were a standard procedure in council proceedings, though humans found them deeply uncomfortable. "I consent to scanning," Diane said, maintaining eye contact with the Grand Arbiter as the devices emitted a soft blue glow. The other human delegates nodded their consent as well. For several tense minutes, the council chamber watched as human memories of the battle planning and execution were projected onto the massive screens surrounding the chamber. The tactical meetings, the desperate preparations as Vexari ships approached the colony, the innovative solutions proposed by Earth military strategists. When the scan completed, the Grand Arbiter conferred with other senior council members, their conversation shielded from translation. The chamber remained silent as the humans waited for judgment. "The evidence suggests no outside assistance," the Grand Arbiter finally announced. The humans developed their tactics independently using only information available to them as probationary members. The Vexari representative slammed one of its armored limbs against the railing. Unacceptable. They are a threat. Their colony encroaches on territory we had planned to expand into. They must be contained. Diane stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes for the first time. Our colony is in the location approved by this council. The star system was unclaimed according to your own records. The attack on our people was unprovoked and illegal under council law. The chamber erupted into competing voices as various factions argued. Some supported the humans, others feared them. Many simply wanted to avoid conflict with either side. The high speaker signaled for attention, and the chamber gradually quieted. These developments are concerning not because the humans defended themselves successfully, but because they have demonstrated an unusual aptitude for warfare. Beyond the technical question of rule violations, we must address a more fundamental issue. Does humanity represent a destabilizing force in our carefully balanced society? Diane recognized the dangerous direction of the conversation. If the council decided humans were a threat, they could revoke even the limited probationary status Earth had been granted. The consequences would be devastating: isolation from galactic trade and knowledge, perhaps even military containment. She needed to change the narrative. Esteemed council members, she began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. We understand your concerns. Humanity has a complicated history with conflict. This much is true. But consider that the same adaptability, the same unconventional thinking that allowed us to defend ourselves, could be an asset to the council. She gestured, and the holographic display changed, again showing Earth culture art, scientific breakthroughs, humanitarian efforts. The images flowed one after another, showcasing human creativity and compassion. We are not just warriors, she continued. We are explorers, healers, artists, and builders, and seek not to disrupt but to contribute. Imagine what humanity could offer if given the chance to fully join your community. Our different perspective could help solve problems that have challenged the council for generations. A delegate from one of the oldest council races, a being that resembled a giant jellyfish floating in a containment field, spoke next. The Navarii have observed many emerging species over our 50,000 years of space travel. The humans show patterns that concern us. They advance too quickly. They take too many risks. Their history is filled with conflict. They could destabilize the careful balance we have maintained. Another delegate, this one a small rodent-like being with enormous eyes, countered. The Tellurians disagree. Adaptability and innovation should not be feared. The humans solved a tactical problem our own military analysts believed unsolvable. We should study their methods, not punish them for succeeding. The debate continued for hours as the human delegation stood silently in the center of the chamber. Diane remained outwardly calm, though her mind raced through contingencies. If they ruled against Earth, what options would remain? War against the entire galactic community was unthinkable, but surrender and isolation were equally unbearable. Finally, the Grand Arbiter called for order. The Council must vote on the status of humanity given these new developments. 3 options are proposed: revocation of probationary status, continued probation, with additional restrictions, or acceleration to limited membership status. Delegates, cast your decision. The massive display above showed the votes accumulating in real time. Diane watched the numbers climb, her expression neutral, though her heart pounded. The future of humanity hung in the balance. When the final tally appeared, the Grand Arbiter rose. The Council has decided. The humans will retain their probationary status. Without additional restrictions, it was neither victory nor defeat. Simply, the status quo. Diane allowed herself a small breath of relief. However, the Arbiter continued. We require additional assurances. A Council observation team will be expanded on Earth to monitor human military development. Any further incidents involving human forces will trigger an immediate review. The Vexari will be sanctioned for their unauthorized attack, but both parties are ordered to maintain distance from each other. The platform beneath the human delegation began to move backward, signaling the end of their audience. As they exited the massive council chambers, one of Diane's team leaned close. That went better than expected. Diane shook her head slightly, her expression grave. They're afraid of us now, and fear can be more dangerous than hostility. We need to change how they see humanity before our probation ends, otherwise we'll never truly be accepted. The doors of the Galactic Council chamber closed behind them with a resonant hum. Outside the windows of the council station, the galaxy spun in silent majesty. Somewhere in that vast expanse of stars, a small blue planet awaited news of its fate. "We have 6 months left," Diane said to her team. 6 months to convince the most powerful beings in the galaxy that humans deserve a place among them. And now we have to do it with the shadow of this victory hanging over us. They think we're warriors. We need to show them we're more than that. Her military advisor nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe we can use this. Respect can grow from fear." The massive view screen in the council chamber displayed a catastrophic scene. An asteroid half the size of Earth's moon tumbled through space on a collision course with Proxima Centauri b, the most populated alien world in Earth's neighboring star. System billions of lives hung in the balance as projections showed just 14 days remained before impact. The evacuation had begun, but the Proximan government representatives admitted the grim truth: only 20% of their population could be moved to safety in time. Ambassador Kelly Harrison stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, her determined expression magnified on holographic displays visible to all 6,000 representatives of the interstellar community. The human delegation had requested an emergency session, surprising the council with an unprecedented proposal. The Grand Arbiter's voice echoed through the vast chamber. "Let me understand clearly. Ambassador Harrison, Earth proposes to divert this extinction-level asteroid with technology you have not yet tested." Kelly nodded, meeting the Arbiter's compound eyes without hesitation. "That is correct. Our scientists believe the gravity tractor array will create enough consistent force to alter the asteroid's trajectory by the necessary 3 degrees. If deployed immediately, we calculate a 94% chance of success." A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. The representatives of hundreds of alien species debated among themselves. Many appeared skeptical, others hopeful. The Proximan delegation, their blue-scaled skin pale with stress, watched the proceedings with desperate attention. The senior counselor of the Thoraxi Collective, a gaseous being contained in a hovering mechanical shell, floated forward to address the chamber. "The humans have been granted probationary status in our galactic community for only 10 months. They lack the technological advancement of even our youngest member species. Their proposal is based on theoretical calculations, not proven application. Why should we entrust the fate of billions to untested human science?" Kelly remained composed as she responded. "Because every established method proposed by council members requires at least 20 days for deployment. The asteroid will impact in 14 days. Our solution can be implemented immediately using materials already present in the Proxima system." The Proximan Prime Minister rose, his voice trembling with emotion. "Our traditional allies have offered evacuation ships but not intervention. The asteroid is too large for conventional deflection technology. We have explored all options within Council protocols. None will save our world. The humans offer the only hope for our people." Another council member, this one a crystalline entity that shimmered with internal light, spoke next. "The humans' proposal violates 16 different safety protocols established by the Science Directorate. Gravity manipulation on this scale has never been attempted. It could create a cascade of spatial distortions affecting nearby systems." Ambassador Harrison activated a holographic display, showing detailed technical specifications. "Our calculations account for all spatial effects. The gravity field will be precisely calibrated and contained within a safety buffer. If anomalies develop beyond predicted parameters, we can immediately shut down the array." The Grand Arbiter studied the technical data. "The risk is substantial, not just to Proxima Centauri but potentially to neighboring systems, including Sol. Why would Earth take such a risk for a world not your own?" A heavy silence fell over the chamber as thousands of alien representatives waited for the human response. Kelly looked up at the Grand Arbiter, her voice clear and unwavering. "Because we can help. Because billions will die if we don't. Because when we see suffering, we cannot stand by if there's any chance to prevent it. This is who we are. The display shifted, showing images of human disaster response teams throughout Earth history, rescuers pulling survivors from collapsed buildings after earthquakes, medical workers treating victims in war zones, volunteers rebuilding communities after floods and hurricanes. Ordinary people risking their lives to save strangers. This is humanity. Kelly continued. This is what we offer to the galactic community. Not just our technology or resources, but our unwavering commitment to preserving life wherever we find it. The images continued, revealing Earth's own close calls with extinction-level events. The dinosaur-killing asteroid, nuclear close calls, climate crisis. Each time humanity had faced destruction and survived, we understand extinction threats better than most species, Ambassador, Harrison said. We've faced them repeatedly throughout our development. We've made mistakes, caused our own crises, and learned hard lessons. But we've also developed a unique perspective on survival and adaptation. If there's even a small chance we can save the Proximan homeworld, we must try. The Proximan Prime Minister stepped forward, tears streaming down his scaled face. We accept the human proposal. Our world stands at the edge of oblivion. We will embrace any chance of survival. The Grand Arbiter raised all four of its limbs, signaling for order. The chamber gradually quieted. The Council must vote on this matter. The gravity tractor technology proposed by humans requires Council authorization as it falls outside established protocols. Delegates, cast your decisions. The massive holographic display above the chamber center shifted, showing a real-time count as thousands of votes poured in. Kelly watched the numbers climb, her heart pounding in her chest. The fate of billions hung on this vote, but so too did humanity's standing in the galactic community. This was their chance to demonstrate what humans could offer. When the final tally appeared, the Grand Arbiter rose. By a narrow majority, the Council authorizes the human intervention, but with conditions. The operation will be monitored by Council observers at all times. If safety parameters are exceeded, the project will be immediately terminated regardless of consequences to Proxima Centauri. B. Kelly nodded her acceptance. The human team is ready to depart immediately. Our ships are prepared with all necessary equipment. We request Council transport to reach Proxima Centauri more quickly. Within hours, the human scientific team was en route to the endangered system, traveling through the Advanced Transit Network, normally off-limits to probationary species. The next 2 weeks became a blur of frantic activity as the gravity tractor array was assembled in space. Human engineers worked alongside Proximan technicians while representatives from 20 Council species monitored every aspect of the operation. The technology was elegantly simple in concept. A series of massive generators positioned around the asteroid would create directed gravitational fields pulling the massive rock slightly off course. Over days, the cumulative effect would alter its trajectory just enough to miss the populated planet. The difficulty came in the precision required. Calculations had to account for countless variables, and the gravity fields needed constant adjustment. The Operation Control Center, established on a Proximan moon, buzzed with activity as the moment of truth approached. Kelly stood beside the project director, Dr. Eleanor Ward, watching as the final activation sequence began. 6 massive generators powered up, creating gravitational distortions precisely calibrated to work in harmony. We're at 25% power. Dr. Ward announced, her eyes fixed on the readings. All systems nominal. The monitoring chamber fell silent as power levels climbed. The Proximan Prime Minister stood nearby. His hands clasped in what appeared to be prayer. Council observers recorded every detail: 50% power, gravitational field, stabilizing field harmonics in acceptable parameters on the main view screen. The massive asteroid continued its journey toward the planet, but instruments detected the first infinitesimal change in its course. 75% power. Minor variance in Generator 3, compensating a warning. Alarm sounded as one of the generators showed signs of stress. Human technicians rushed to make adjustments as Council observers moved closer. Their instruments recording every detail. Dr. Ward's voice remained steady despite the tension. Full power. Achieved, all generators functioning within parameters. For 3 days, the control center maintained round-the-clock operations. As the gravity tractor worked its silent magic, the asteroid's path began to visibly alter, drifting away from its collision. Course projections updated hourly, showing the increasing distance between the calculated impact point and the planet on. The 4th day, the Grand Arbiter itself arrived to witness the operation. Thousands of ships had gathered in nearby space as refugees prepared to return to their homes. The asteroid, now clearly visible in the sky of Proxima Centauri b, would pass safely nearly 8,000 kilometers from the planet's atmosphere. Ambassador Harrison met the Grand Arbiter on the observation deck. The view showed both the planet below and the massive rock that had nearly destroyed it. "You have succeeded," the Arbiter acknowledged. Its compound eyes studied the human closely. This outcome was statistically improbable. "Yet here we stand," Kelly smiled, her exhaustion evident after days without sleep. "Sometimes improbability is humanity's specialty." The Grand Arbiter's skin shifted through colors indicating deep thought. "You have saved billions of lives, Ambassador, and you have demonstrated something unexpected about your species. When the Council granted Earth probationary status, many believed you would fail. Many feared your warlike history would make you dangerous. Others dismissed your technological capabilities as insufficient. Yet you have shown innovation, compassion, and determination beyond our expectations." The Arbiter gestured toward the planet below. "The Proximan people will remember this for generations." The emergency klaxons blared throughout the Galactic Council headquarters as security forces rushed through the corridors. Delegates from 1,000 worlds were being evacuated as reports came in of the unthinkable, the ancient defense systems. Protecting the Council hub had been breached for the first time in 12,000 years. Ambassador Nicole Watson pushed against the tide of fleeing aliens, her security team forming a protective barrier around her. The central chamber ahead was sealed with emergency force fields, but Nicole was determined to reach it. Inside the Council's inner circle was debating the crisis that threatened to tear the galactic community apart. Commander Max Rivera, her head of security, grabbed her arm. "Ambassador, we need to evacuate. The hive ships have broken through the outer defense grid. They could reach the station within hours." Nicole shook her head firmly. "I need to be in that chamber. Max, the vote they're taking will determine humanity's future. If they choose wrong, there won't be an Earth to return to." The security team approached the sealed entrance to the central chamber. 2 massive Krell guards blocked their path, their crystalline bodies glowing with defensive energy. "The chamber is sealed by order of the Grand Arbiter," one rumbled. "No one enters or leaves until the vote is complete." Nicole stepped forward. "Ambassador Nicole Watson, Earth delegation. I have critical information for the inner circle, information that could change their vote." The Krell guards exchanged glances, their crystalline features unreadable to human eyes. Finally, one touched a control on the wall. The force field shimmed briefly, creating an opening just large enough for one person to pass through. "Ambassador, only," the guard stated. "The security team remains outside." Nicole nodded to Max. "I'll be fine," she said, though they both knew that might not be true. With a deep breath, she stepped through the opening into the most powerful room in the galaxy. The central chamber was a perfect sphere lined with tiered seating, the inner circle consisting of the 17 most influential species in the galactic community, sat at various points around the equator of the room. At the chamber's heart, a 3-dimensional holographic display showed the current crisis. The Hive Armada, a vast swarm of organic ships, was advancing toward the Council hub, while defensive fleets attempted to slow their progress. The Grand Arbiter noticed Nicole's entrance, its iridescent body shifting, colors in what she had learned to recognize as surprise. "Ambassador Watson." The Arbiter's melodious voice echoed. "This chamber is sealed during emergency voting. I apologize for the intrusion." "Arbiter." Nicole replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "But I believe the inner circle is about to make a catastrophic mistake. The representative from the Terrani Imperium, a massive being with 6 eyes and scaled skin that shifted from deep blue to purple rose in obvious anger. The human has no place here." The vote concerns their own species conflict. Their bias is obvious. The holographic display shifted to show another part of space, Earth surrounded by defensive platforms and ships from 30 allied species. The image was simultaneously reassuring and terrifying humanity's homeworld, protected by the combined might of their allies. Yet the very need for such protection highlighted how desperate the situation had become. 3 months ago, the ancient enemy known as the Hive had returned to the galaxy after millennia of absence. They had immediately demanded Earth be surrendered to them, claiming humans were descended from ancient enemies they had sworn to eradicate. When the Council refused, the Hive declared war on the entire galactic community. The Zell representative, a being of pure energy contained within a hovering mechanical shell, glowed brighter as it addressed the chamber. The strategic calculation is clear. The Hive want Earth. If we withdraw protection and allow them to take this single world they have agreed to retreat, the war would end. We would save billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Nicole felt cold fury rise within her. The Circle was actually considering sacrificing Earth to save themselves. The betrayal was almost incomprehensible, given humanity's contributions to the galactic community over the past decade. Esteemed Circle members, she began forcing calm into her voice. I understand the temptation of the Hive offer, sacrifice one world, to save many a simple calculation. But you're missing critical information. She activated her personal communication device connecting to the chamber's display system. The hologram shifted, showing data streams and analysis. The Hive communication. We intercepted last week. The one they thought was secure, I have the complete translation. The chamber fell silent, all 17 Circle members focusing intently on the display. The translation appeared hovering in the air for all to see. Once we have secured the human world, we will use their genetic template to complete the Ascension Protocol. The other species will be harvested in sequence, beginning with the youngest Council members, the Prism Collective representative. Its crystalline body, reflecting light and dazzling patterns, made a sound like breaking glass. This could be falsified. The humans would say anything to save themselves. Nicole shook her head. The verification codes are embedded in the transmission. Your own cryptanalysts can confirm it. The Hive have no intention of honoring any agreement. They're using Earth as the first step in a galaxy-wide conquest. The Arbiter studied the data, its color shifting to deep indigo, indicating concern. The information appears authentic. But the question remains, why do the Hive focus so intently on Earth? What makes humans so important to their plans? Nicole took a deep breath. What I'm about to share is classified at the highest levels of Earth government. We've kept it secret even from our closest allies. She looked around the chamber at the representatives of the most powerful civilizations in known space. The Hive aren't returning to our galaxy, Ambassador Watson explained. They're returning to Earth. Specifically, we've discovered ancient ruins beneath our ocean floor, ruins that predate human civilization by millions of years. Those ruins contain Hive technology and human DNA. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. The implications were staggering. The holographic display changed again, showing underwater excavations on Earth's ocean floor. Massive structures of unknown material embedded in the seafloor. Carbon dating and other tests confirm these structures are approximately 65 million years old. Nicole continued, we believe the Hive visited Earth in our ancient past. They conducted genetic experiments on early mammals, survivors of the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. Those experiments eventually led to human evolution. The Grand Arbiter's color shifted rapidly through multiple hues, indicating intense emotional reaction. You believe the Hive created humanity, not created, directed. Nicole clarified. They accelerated and shaped our evolution for some purpose. We don't yet understand. Our scientists think they abandoned the experiment when the results weren't what they expected. Now they've returned to collect their test subjects or destroy the evidence. The Moro representative, a being that resembled a giant jellyfish floating in a containment field, pulsed with light as it spoke. This would explain the unusual aspects of human development. Your species advanced from primitive technology to spaceflight in an extraordinarily compressed time frame. You exhibit genetic adaptability beyond evolutionary norms. The Torani representative, still skeptical, growled. Even if this is true, it only strengthens the argument for surrendering Earth. If humans are hive experiments, they could pose a threat to us all. Nicole stepped forward. Her expression, fierce. Humanity has proven its loyalty to the Council for 10 years. We've contributed scientific breakthroughs, defended Council worlds, saved billions of lives. We are not defined by our origins, but by our choices, and we choose to stand with the galactic community against the hive. The representative of the Eldar Protectorate, an ancient species that rarely spoke in council proceedings, rose slowly. Its humanoid form was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to contain the patterns of stars. The Eldar see truth in the human words. The hive will not stop with Earth. The ancient texts speak of their hunger, a hunger that consumed entire galaxies before they were driven back. Our ancestors fought them once before at terrible cost. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. The chamber grew quiet as the Eldar spoke. Their species was among the oldest in the galaxy, their wisdom respected by all. The Grand Arbiter floated to the center of the chamber. We must vote. The options are clear. Withdraw, protection from Earth in exchange for the hive's promised retreat, or stand with humanity against this ancient enemy. Delegates of the Inner Circle, register your decisions. Nicole held her breath as the 17 most powerful beings in the galaxy made their choice. The future of humanity hung in the balance. She thought of Earth, the blue planet that had nurtured her species through its long evolution, unaware of the alien influence that had shaped human development or the galactic politics that now threatened its existence. When the vote appeared in the holographic display, Nicole felt her knees weaken with relief. The decision was nearly unanimous. 16 votes to defend Earth. Only the Torani had voted for surrender. The Arbiter's color stabilized to a deep blue. The Inner Circle has decided we stand with humanity. Defensive fleets will maintain position around Earth. The combined forces of the Council will engage the hive. The war continues. As the words were spoken, a sudden impact shook the Council station. Alarms blared as the holographic display shifted, showing hive ships breaking through the final defensive perimeter, the Girar. The ancient chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the massive doors swung open, revealing a single human figure. Ambassador Olivia Bennett walked slowly toward the center platform, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The 5,000 representatives of the galactic community watched in silence, their varied forms, motionless as the significance of this moment weighed upon them all. 3 years of devastating war had led to this day. 3 years since the hive had swept across the galaxy, destroying worlds and consuming entire species in their path. The conflict had reduced the Council membership from thousands of worlds to mere hundreds, as systems fell or were evacuated ahead of the hive advance. Now the remaining representatives gathered in their emergency headquarters deep within an ancient fortress world. Olivia reached the center platform, her simple black uniform bearing no insignia or decoration. Her face showed the strain of leadership during humanity's darkest hours, yet her posture remained unbowed. Her eyes swept across the gathered delegates, taking in the diverse array of beings from across the galaxy. Many had once viewed humans with suspicion or even contempt. Now they waited for her words with desperate hope. The Grand Arbiter, a being of swirling energy contained within a crystalline shell, floated forward. Humanity has called this emergency session, claiming a development that could change the course of the war. The Council recognizes Ambassador Olivia Bennett of Earth. Olivia's voice carried clearly through the chamber. We have discovered the true purpose of the hive and why they created humanity. This knowledge gives us the key to defeating them. The Ascension Protocol we feared is not what we believed it to be. A murmur ran through the gathered delegates. The Ascension Protocol had been mentioned in intercepted hive communications for years, but its exact nature remained unknown. Only its importance to the enemy was clear. Olivia activated a holographic display showing a complex DNA sequence. The hive created humanity 65 million years ago as part of a long-term experiment. They were seeking to create a species with a specific genetic sequence, one that could survive. The process they call ascension. Our scientists have determined that ascension is not conquest, it is transformation. The hive seek to evolve into a higher form of existence. The display shifted, showing the molecular structure of a strange compound. Our research team on Earth has identified this enzyme in human brain tissue. It exists in no other species in the galaxy. It appears to be the culmination of the hive genetic engineering. The final product of their experiment on our world. The representative of the Krell Dominion, a massive reptilian being, rose from his seat. What relevance does this have to our current crisis, Ambassador? The hive continue to advance on all fronts. We lose systems. Daily, Olivia nodded, her expression grave. The relevance, Counselor, is that we now understand what the hive want and why they cannot be stopped by conventional means. They aren't interested in territory or resources. They want humanity specifically because we carry the key to their evolution. The enzyme they engineered into our DNA is the final component they need to achieve their ascension. She paused, letting the implications sink in. We believe they want to harvest humanity, extract this compound, and use it to trigger their evolutionary transformation into something beyond physical form. The council chamber erupted in alarmed conversations. The possibility that the hive sought to evolve beyond physical existence presented an entirely new dimension to the conflict. The Grand Arbiter raised its appendages, calling for silence. If your analysis is correct, Ambassador, what do you propose? The hive forces outnumber our combined fleets 5-1. We cannot protect Earth indefinitely. Olivia took a deep breath, her expression resolute. We don't ask you to protect us anymore. In fact, we ask the opposite. We propose to use ourselves as bait. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. The human plan is this, Olivia continued. Earth will appear to be abandoned by Council forces. All defensive fleets will withdraw. To predetermined positions, the hive will detect this and commit their main force to capture Earth exactly as they've wanted from the beginning. But when they arrive, they'll find something unexpected. The holographic display changed, showing a complex device. Our scientists have developed what we call the resonance cascade. It generates an energy field that interacts specifically with the unique enzyme in human brain tissue. When activated in the presence of a sufficient human population, it creates a quantum reaction that ripples outward, affecting any being with a genetic connection to the targeted sequence. The Eldar representative, a tall, willowy being with luminescent skin, spoke for the first time. You propose to use your own people as both bait and weapon. This is unprecedented. It is necessary, Olivia replied, her voice firm. The cascade will trigger a reaction in both humans and the hive due to our shared genetic material created by their experiments. Our scientists predict it will disrupt the biological functions of the hive completely. We estimate 99% effectiveness against their forces. The cost to humanity will be high. Approximately 30% of our population will not survive the process. But the alternative is extinction for all council species. The chamber fell silent again as the delegates considered the human proposal. The sacrifice being offered was beyond anything in council history. An entire species willing to use themselves as both lure and weapon, risking millions of their own lives to save the galaxy. The Tyranny representative, always skeptical of humans, rumbled from his seat. How can we trust this technology? You ask us to withdraw our forces, leaving you in position to either join the hive or escape while the rest of us face destruction. Olivia met his gaze unflinching. We anticipated your concern. The resonance cascade cannot be moved once positioned. The control systems require constant human operation. We will be committed to this course once it begins, with no possibility of escape. And to ensure complete transparency, we invite representatives from the Council to remain on Earth to observe the humans operating. The cascade will include the families of our highest leadership, myself included. My husband and children will be among those at risk. She gestured and the display changed, showing the distribution of the human population. We have already begun evacuating 70% of our people to safety. The remaining 30%, all volunteers, will stay to operate the cascade and ensure the hive commit fully to the trap. The Grand Arbiter conferred silently with other senior council members before addressing the chamber. The human proposal requires a full council vote. The implications extend beyond military strategy to fundamental principles of galactic civilization. Never before has a member species volunteered for such sacrifice. Delegates must consider not only the tactical advantage, but the moral dimension. Are we willing to accept the loss of millions of human lives, even willing ones to secure victory? Olivia stood silently as the council debated. The fate of Earth, indeed of all surviving species, hung on their decision. The holographic display showed the current position of hive forces advancing inexorably toward the remaining council worlds. The strategic situation was desperate. Every conventional option had been exhausted. Only Earth's radical proposal offered any hope of victory. After hours of debate, the Grand Arbiter called for the vote. The question before the Council is whether to approve the human resonance cascade strategy with all its implications. Delegates, cast your decisions. The massive display above the chamber shifted, showing the votes accumulating in real time. Olivia watched the numbers climb, her expression revealing nothing. The weight of billions of lives across the galaxy pressed down upon this moment. When the final tally appeared, the Grand Arbiter rose. The Council approves the human strategy by overwhelming majority. The withdrawal of defensive forces will begin immediately. Council observers will accompany Ambassador Bennett to Earth to oversee the implementation of the resonance cascade. May wisdom guide us all. As the session ended, delegates approached Olivia, many offering gestures of respect from their various cultures. The Eldar representative placed a slender hand on her shoulder. In all our long history, we have never witnessed such courage. The sacrifice of humanity will be recorded in the Great Archive for all time. Olivia nodded slightly. Thank you, but the choice was clear. We created this situation, however unwittingly. The hive came to this galaxy because of us. It's fitting. We should be the ones to end the threat. 3 weeks later, Olivia stood in the control center of the Resonance Cascade facility, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The vast chamber housed the primary control systems for the global network of resonators, positioned strategically around Earth. Each was ready to amplify the neurological patterns of nearby humans, creating the quantum field that would target the hive. The designated 30% of humanity had remained behind while the rest evacuated. To safety on hidden council worlds, among those who stayed were the operators, engineers, and support personnel needed to maintain the cascade, and millions of others who had volunteered to strengthen the field with their presence. Families who refused to be separated, parents who insisted their children be taken to safety, while they remained a cross-section of humanity. At its most noble, council observers from 12 species monitored the operation from a reinforced bunker nearby. Their presence ensured the transparency of the human sacrifice and would provide testimony to future generations about what had occurred here.